Hey, experts listeners. I want to key you into something that we do very special here at Ops Experts Club, and that's a masterclass. We have a free masterclass called Foundations That Scale. And the great thing about this masterclass is it's for operation professionals who are growing businesses. One of the most dangerous things you can do as an operator is grow businesses on a foundations that's not stable. So in this particular masterclass, we take apart all of the inside pieces of your team, your tech, and how they're using time, and we make sure that you're building on a foundation that's stable. So if you want to check out a great masterclass completely for free, go to foundationsthatscale.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome to the Ops Experts Club with Aaron, Terryn, and Savannah. This podcast will take you behind the scenes of some of the finer details of multi-million-dollar companies. These ops experts have dealt with operations for scaling companies and well-established businesses with anywhere from small to large teams. If you've ever been deep into the details of a major company, then you know how much it takes, and these conversations are just for you. Welcome to the Ops Experts Club podcast.
Alrighty, yes, we're here, Ops Experts Club, back at it this week. Terryn, Savannah, excellent to see you guys. How's the day?
Great.
Hey, today I'm pretty excited about our guest in the studio. Just a guy I have so much respect for. This is a guy who I met him in a room. Actually, I met him through Pedro Adeo, and I was at Pedro Adeo's staff retreat. Pedro took us all to Lake Tahoe and put us up in this big house. We all were there for his annual planning for the year, and this gentleman was there, he and his bride. And I had seen him a lot in Pedro's community, and I had thought, that is a dude I hope one day we get to work with. And as things turned out, we did get to work with him. We have gotten to work with him over the last couple of years. And I feel like we've got to do some really exciting things alongside of his brand. I can't wait to introduce you guys today to the infamous Stephen Diaz from the Rainmaker family. So let's bring him on up to the stage.
All right. What's up, guys? Excited to chat. This is my homies here. So we're going to have a good time.
We are going to have a good time. And I would love for you to tell, because I just heard the backside of that story recently when you and I were in a conversation. I would love to hear the backside of that story, because when I was saying I would love to work with that guy in my heart, what were you saying?
I was saying, I hope I never have to do this. I was there. I was helping coach for Pedro's team, and they start pulling out all these whiteboards and like doing like rocks and all these things. And I was just like, this sounds so complicated. At the time, I think it was me, my wife, and like our nanny, right? And maybe like we had a tiny team, but it just didn't feel like we needed the structure. At least I didn't think so at the time. And I remember being at that retreat and just being like, oh, I never want to have to like do this. But I really feel like you're not really led into any territory you're not already prepared for. And I just am so thankful that like I had that experience, because it gave me a little picture of what I was about to be led into. And literally probably 2 years later, we had Aaron running our very similar team retreat, where we were doing the exact same thing, that I was like, I hope I don't have to do this. And then now I'm like, I love doing this. I'm so excited about it. And that shift that's like a transformational journey. So we could definitely dig into that.
I love that. I mean, I think honestly, Stephen, you're one of our best success cases of somebody. I think let's just acknowledge it, right? Visionaries do not like minutia, don't typically like ops, right? They find it draining. They literally just drains the life force out of them. They're sitting in operations-based meetings and they're like, dear God, how do I get off this call? Like that's a typical visionary does not like operations. And so when they see a big ops roll out, like an annual planning for them, for sure, that is, I think, I'm not convinced that Pedro wasn't feeling that. Like didn't really love the energy of having to think through so much minutia and dialing things in. But what I've really seen in you through the years, and I would love for you to introduce yourself and kind of what you and Chelsea have built with the Rainmaker family. What I've seen from you through the years is a man that's just given to, hey, let's just consistently do the thing. Let's just do the thing and do it well and do it with excellence. And sure, if I was to choose something, is this what I would choose to get in the middle of? Some big ops heavy lift? Probably not, but I really want to honor the fact that I watched you say, hey, let's give ourselves to this process. Let's see how it goes. And my hope is that over time, you saw it actually isn't that big of an ops lift. Maybe at the beginning to get things started, you need visionary buy-in, but the hope is that we can ratchet you back from having to be in those things and raise up team and come alongside you to help listen to that. So maybe you could talk about just your journey, man, and what got you there, and tell us a little about the Rainmaker family.
Sure. Yeah. So the Rainmaker family, we create transformational experiences for moms who want to have time freedom, financial abundance, and ultimately leave a thriving family legacy that goes beyond them. And so without going into all the details of what exactly it is, because I think we'll talk more about ops, we
Yeah.
basically do like put that into English. Like that's like our high level vision. that can
Sure.
apply to really anything we're doing. It's going to be about transformation. It's going to be about legacy. But really what we do is we help moms launch brands. So, this got this timer on my desk. Like this came from Amazon. Who made this? Is it Amazon? No, it's not Amazon. Oftentimes it's moms, it's small businesses. 60% of the products on Amazon are sold by small business owners. And so we are behind that. Okay. So we help moms leverage platforms like this to work smarter, not harder, create brands, create legacy, ultimately grow and sell those brands and create generational wealth for their families. So that's what the Rainmaker family is. It's not what we always did, but we've been doing this the last like 5 years. And I think at that point that I was at that team retreat with you, it was like this beginning of a vision. And, you're sitting on something, and you're like, man, I feel like there could be some gold here. And I feel like we got this even greater vision for it, right? To reach so many families across America, across the world. And to go after a big vision, you need like structure. And I think that was the hardest thing for me as like a creative entrepreneur. Me and Chelsea came from the photography realm. We were wedding photographers for 10 years. And so I think the hardest thing I struggled with there was the hardest thing I struggled with even in this business, which was like releasing control. And so I'd love to go into that with you guys because it's the curse of creative entrepreneurs. Like I remember in our wedding business, we would say yes to all these weddings. And one year we had like 43 weddings. And it was like 8 weddings in May alone, it was just like double header, double header, double header. And we weren't outsourcing or anything, like we had no team. It was just us. And so we just got so busy, burnt out, all these things. And it was in that season we read Poverty, Riches, and Wealth, and which is like not even like a business book really, but it's about money and spirituality. And it talked about a vine being overextended and how when a vine is overextended, it'll stop growing fruit. It'll just grow sticks. And then I like
Mm.
that line just like hit me. I was like, man, we're growing sticks right now. We're just like overextending ourselves. And like the fruit, like the results, the life, like it's starting to just kind of drain. And that's really what put us on this journey of like, how can we create a business that gives us that time freedom, that gives us that financial abundance, but ultimately helps us start a family? Because when we were doing weddings, we didn't have kids and we didn't really see a pathway forward. One, you don't see a ton of like older wedding photographers. Two, we're traveling every single weekend and like we're too busy just for like our extended family and our friends. So how would we even make time for kids? So that's what got us on this journey of like searching for more. And that's a whole story within itself. But ultimately we landed on using Amazon, a current like existing already working vehicle, kind of coming behind their tailwind and basically just helping supply the demand on Amazon. There's, 1/3 of every Americans are Prime subscribers. Where are all
Right.
those products coming from? So we really become kind of like the middle family or middleman, right? Between manufacturers who make the products and Amazon who needs products to sell. And we get paid to connect those dots.
Love that. Yeah, man. Terryn, I know you were with me at that annual planning that he's making reference to it, even as he made his pitch about, like growing, like essentially, how can we help for transformation? And just that you had your whole funnel drawn out, Steve, where you're like, hey, this is where we're starting. And this is what it's funneling down to. And this is how it turns into business. And this is how we just create wealth. And I think it's so cool to see the vision behind the vision. And it started as something small. I remember some of your early videos that I watched with Chelsea and like, I think she was like shopping in Target or something like that and walking through and showing like products. Where do you think this comes from? Or like pointing out, hey, what do we think this is a big seller? Or like identifying what the trends are. And then to see it go from that into you guys having 2 beautiful kids. Chelsea, I know even we're in a mastermind together. I heard Chelsea just the other day talk about, hey, ladies, if you're looking for a way of how to develop your life with ideal time structure, like that's literally what my jam is. I love talking about that. To see Chelsea go from that place where you're talking about a wedding planner, so
Okay.
busy all the time, barely able to think about even having kids, to now a mom of 2, having this very successful company. I mean, your growth over the last 5 years has been exponential, one of the biggest of all the clients we've ever carried of percentage of growth. But to hear you talk about it's because we didn't just stay small and it's because we didn't try and overextend. There was a role we could meet in the middle and that is grow through it. So Terryn, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that of just coming into it, especially coming out of that annual planning and you're in Stephen's account all the time. It's pretty rare that we get to interview one of our like client. We're like belly of the beast. You could probably talk to it from experience.
Can't say anything that's not true. You guys will call me on it. You guys know all the stuff. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun working with you. It's rare I get to be in a room with somebody who's in charge and who's also smarter than me with the tech stack. So it's already hard learning from you in that environment. But yeah, just being able to see you guys from the customer of that other client and following his journey and ending where you are here and being able to be a part of that's been very unique.
Yeah, totally. Well, super thankful for you guys. And I mean, just so people know where you guys came in, I feel like we kind of plateaued around seven figures, mid seven figures. So we had pretty exponential growth in 2020. Everyone's home, everyone wants to start a business. So we were there to help those families in that season, saw exponential growth. But in 2021, really started to hit that burnout again, right? Started growing sticks again, where if you looked at our org chart, it was like Stephen and Chelsea, and then like everyone else on the second line, right? And it was just like we were in Slack, and like I'm just getting DMs every day with just everyone bringing me their problems. And so this is where I remembered back to Pedro's thing and like, oh, structure, meetings, like we need that, like, I don't know, And I think we read Traction, we read, I think that was the big one that kind of put us on EOS. And then just miraculous timing, Aaron posted on Facebook, hey, I got room for a couple more clients. I was like, this is exactly what we need. So I really believe you guys are the ones that really helped unbottleneck the business, because I truly became the bottleneck because everyone was coming to me for thumbs up, thumbs down, input, strategy. And I like the dopamine hit of fixing things. But if you really want to scale to the masses, like go scale to 8 figures, 9 figures, like you need to release control. And so coming back to that creative, Pedro said this recently. I was like, such a good analogy. He's like, gardens need structure, right? Some gardens need structure. We just want to grow free and fly. But like, if you really want to grow a big garden, you want to grow a huge tomato bush, you want to grow this big tree, like sometimes you need structure, right? To like hold that creativity in. And it's not hardcore rules. Like that's like religion. Religion is like, I gotta follow these exact rules, right? But it's structure that allows creativity to kind of flow through it. I kind of think of like a lattice for like a tomato plant. And that's what you guys really brought into our business, which gave us the ability to scale past 8 figures and not burn me out and not burn Chelsea out and not, give up the thing that we were literally like we're fighting for, which is time freedom for families.
Something I think is interesting too is that at the summit, you're looking at the organizational thing and you're like, gosh, I don't want to do that ops stuff. Like that seems like boring. But then by not having that, as your company grew a lot and everyone reaching out to you for everything, you were literally having to do all of that yourself. So you're really actually doing like more of the operations by not bringing in the operations to do it for you.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think like I first encountered this in the wedding business. I was filming and editing, and I thought I was like super good. So like I was like, I'm so good at making these movies, like these wedding films. I'm gonna make this bride just cry for years and years and years as she watches the thing, which I think did happen. But like when you have that kind of creative, like, ooh, I'm, confidence, I would say, it's super hard to release that. And so when I hired editors, that was the hardest thing for me to do, is actually put into language how I was creating those emotions. Like, what is my actual process? And so I think in business, a lot of times it's like, if you think you're the only one that can do it, you're believing a lie that you're the best in the world at that thing. And when I was the video editor, I was literally believing the lie that I was the world's best video editor. The truth is, I just had not learned how to communicate well enough or lead someone well enough to have them edit better than me, right? Or even hire the right person to just be a better editor by default, right? And so same thing in the business, we've had to learn that like, I'm not the only one that can do this. Like there are better people than me. There are way smarter people than me. And you guys really helped us dial in the hiring process, dial in the SOP. I don't think I knew what an SOP was before I met you guys. I think I just was like sending Loom videos and like, hey, here's the tutorial. I didn't know the terminology for standard operating procedures. So now like, it's like we call bus proofing departments even, where it's like, if that whole department got hit by a bus, everything's documented. Like we have all the processes, and it's easier to be more resilient when things come up.
I think something that's impressed me so much about you over and over, my man, just honestly, is just how you've actually released that freedom to people. So it's interesting to hear you talk about it's hard for you to release freedom, because I would say from the outside looking in, it looks like you do it so well. An example of that would be, I know you spoke at the Wellspring People Harvest's mastermind a couple of months ago about marketing strategy. And I do think that's one of your geniuses. I think you're so freaking brilliant with your marketing strategies. I love to hear you talk about marketing. But one of the things you talked about there that I thought was so amazing was your way of essentially aggregating good content that didn't have to come straight from Stephen and Chelsea, because obviously you guys, if anybody's seen any of your stuff on any of the socials, any of your ads, it's freaking hilarious. Your dancing videos, your singing videos, like all the different things that you do that are just like,
Yeah.
dude, that is awesome stuff. But I loved what you talked about of how do we create more and more content that performs in an ad space. And I love just your idea of how do we release our community? Because I think that that's really where a lot of your staff came from, right? Was community that experienced success, that raised their hand and then said, your raving fans that said, I would love just to work with you. I know that's where you got your operator, Kimberly, who's an amazing lady and somebody that I'd love to talk about at some point on the show as well. Cause I feel like has brought such good things to the Rainmaker family of you releasing that to her. But I just think it's interesting to hear you talk about your struggle with releasing, ability for people to create when I feel like that actually has become a superpower of yours. And I think it's really lent to your exponential growth. Maybe could you talk about that for a minute? Because I think that some of your ideas and thoughts around that are so novel and unique. And I think it'd really bless the listeners if you're us.
Yeah. Feel free to guide me if I go off track or you want to go deeper into something. But yeah, I would say I have gotten way better at that. And that was the key, transformational key between 7 and 8 figures. And so when you're going to 6 figures, you're very scrappy. You do everything yourself. You're wearing all the hats typically, right? Maybe there's people that build that, from the start, but typically you're just wearing a lot of hats. 7, you're starting to develop those things. But to really truly go 8 and beyond, it's like about releasing control. I almost see it's like with kids. Like with kids, you got to start just like watching everything, baby proofing everything. Then they start to walk, talk. And then it's like about like, being there for them, being a support for them. But eventually you got to let the kids drive. Like you got to let them like go out of the house. And like in that, there's growth for them. So it's almost like seeing your business like that. And I feel like if you want a key to being an amazing leader, it's like, what would a good father do? What would a good mother do? Like a good father, regardless if you grew up with one or not, like just the most amazing father would like see gold in people and like speak identity in them, tell them who they are, but then like lead them in a way where they are not reliant on the father, right? Like they're not like, oh, daddy, I just need this thing from you all the time. That's the business I was running. Now it's like, I want to empower, sons and daughters who work in the organization to become, fathers and mothers themselves, right? And I use that language because it's like, it's a multiplication kind of language. And I think to really scale, it's that idea of like, how can we create ads that scale without me and Chelsea having to be in every single video? It's like, how do I have like kind of an idea, but then like plant it somewhere where it can multiply? I'm using a lot of gardening analogies. It is one of those things I'm like, I think growth can oftentimes come from something that's already there that you can just like, when you really care about it, you can multiply it. And then it starts multiplying without you, and that's ultimately where we're trying to take teams and leaders is multiplication without us with a little bit of QC in there, a little bit of quality control. I'm just making sure it's not growing too crazy over here and, oh, we don't want to do that. Right. So it's a balance.
I love that. Do you mind like just pulling back the veil a little bit on just that example of marketing and stuff that I'm talking about is like you shared a little bit at that Wellspring gathering, just how you multiplied that out beyond you. The origin was you, but then you poured a little bit of gas on the multiplication not coming from you, but then the layer of quality control, what you decided to use, and then how you saw that like really grow the brand. If you're comfortable talking about that, I don't like that's some of my secret sauce. I don't want to let that out.
I mean, like I share a lot of this stuff, but people don't want to do the work. So if you want to do the work, this will really help you. So if you find yourself doing ads all the time, we can get a little tactical. So like that was me and Chelsea's life. Like our ads do well. It takes a lot of effort though for me and Chelsea coming out and shooting an ad. Like it usually like we used to just like fight every time. Like we'd have to shoot an ad because it just feel all this like pressure and I don't know. And so we can do that like at least once a month. But at some point it was like our team was like, hey, we need more, right? And it just was too much for us. So 2 ideas we came up with. I'm not sure which one I shared at Wellspring, but one idea was we ran a contest in our community. So any business can do this. You go to your customers and you go, hey, we're looking to generate some new ads. We're running a contest. You can submit your own ad to us, like that we could run promoting our business. And if your ad is chosen, then we'll pay you blank dollars. So for our community, I forget what it was. I think we did $250 per ad that was submitted that we ended up using. And then we paid $1,000 for the top performing ad. And so we actually said, hey, to enter this contest, come on this short training. And we actually trained them on like we just wanted like slightly higher quality than just like people grabbing their phone. But honestly, like right now, like that type of video works really well. So on the Zoom call, we're like, all right, guys, everyone pull out your phone right now. Like, just pretend you're telling a friend about this product, right? And like, you're just sending them a message. Don't say their name. Just be like, hey, friend, let me tell you about this thing, and just shoot a quick video and submit it to the Dropbox. So we had people like taking action on the call. And then we had a Dropbox link where they could just submit the video. And then we had a deadline. We had like, I think the first time this, it was like over 100 videos submitted. And that library of videos lasted us like, I mean, we're still using some of those to this day. Like, and that was probably 2 years ago. So we've run that contest a couple times. And then I don't know if I shared this one at Wellspring, but now we basically have a content creator team that was that the one I shared, or was it the Atlas one?
No, you elevated up, right? Because the ones that really started performing, it led you to the right people. I think is where you're going to go with that one.
Yeah, yeah. So when we started doing these contests, we started seeing, okay, certain people like have it. Like they know how to make good ads, right? They're kind of skilled with TikTok or Instagram, and they just know how to put something nice together. And so we leveled it up by being like, okay, now we know we need a lot of ads all the time, because ads, I mean, honestly, I would say all social media is kind of just about taking swings, because you never really know what's going to hit. So you just gotta like take a lot of swings, and every once in a while you're going to hit a home run, and that's the same thing with ads. And so to increase our swing, so to say, we basically post in the group, hey, who's on TikTok and let's get the paid to be on TikTok, right? So imagine asking your employees that. Handful of people reach out and drop a comment. Hey, yeah, I love TikTok. I'd love to get paid to make TikToks. And so basically we grabbed, I think the idea was 10, but you could do this with any number. You do it with 2 people, you do it with 3 people, and we pay them a certain amount per month. And that amount we say is like, hey, create 1 TikTok per day about our brand, right? About like the Rainmaker family. It could be, it could be just about like motherhood, because we serve moms. It could be about entrepreneurship. It could be about Amazon. Like it could just be, like, it's just kind of related to our niche, but it doesn't have to be like you selling it all the time or pitching it. Like, just like have a TikTok themed for this thing. And then every TikTok that they would create the account, they would call it like Rainmaker Jane, Rainmaker Jenny, and they'd even be wearing like some branded color. So the idea is like, we want these all over the internet, kind of like making a noise. And people are like, what is this Rainmaker thing? They're like seeing it all over. And so basically every day on TikTok, they're making videos. A lot of them just batch it. They do 7 a week. They'll do them like all in one sitting. And imagine we have 10 people doing that, 7 videos a week. That's 70 swings per week that we're taking, right? And TikTok is kind of like the first place we're just posting them, because TikTok will tell us based on views and engagement, which one of those are hitting, which one are like, wow, that one got substantially more. So basically at the end of every week, we have them submit a form. Did you do your 7 videos, right? Like, because they're not going to get paid if they don't do their 7 videos. And of the 7 videos, or like of the last week, I forget what the exact question is, like, which one was the top performer? And then like, how well did it perform? And then there's kind of like options like, a little bit better, somewhat better, like viral. Like, and we have like kind of metrics to kind of define it. And then basically when one goes viral, we have a Zapier automation that notifies the whole team to say, hey, next week, everyone make a version of this one. So then like you're taking the one that went viral and they're all iterating on it and making a different version of it. And we're finding of those ones, which one's going viral. And then of that, it comes to Chelsea and I, and that's the one we make. So basically we're getting 70 plus swings a week on content. It's promoting the brand, but really ultimately it's giving us good data on what's going to perform. And then me and Chelsea are spending our time more wisely by only doing the stuff that we're like, we know this hook works. We know this angle works. And this is the thing that's going to hit. If it hits on TikTok, it'll likely hit on a Facebook ad. So that's the strategy.
I think it's so rad to see creativity. And I think the empowering of other people to do something that would have been your craft, something that you guys do really well, but setting it free. And I've really seen you do that a lot with Kimberly too. So Kimberly is your director of ops, somebody that you've homegrown, grown from the ground up, somebody that you brought us in. You said, hey, Aaron, will you guys hold space doing operations kind of work? And then will you grow Kimberly alongside of us? And really, I feel like that's what we did for 16 months with you, and then kind of released Kimberly into the wild and have been there to kind of support you guys from behind. But I'd love for you to speak to that maybe just a little bit too.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, like, I don't agree with everything Jeff Bezos does, but if he did one thing amazingly, he did that, which is he made, like, all of this stuff is about letting other people win, like Amazon. Like, we're literally like, have a program where people like can sell products on Amazon, right? There's a program you can get paid to drive the trucks on Amazon. You can actually put books on Amazon. You can get paid to record the audio for the books on Amazon, right? Like you can get paid to put your teaching materials on Amazon. You can get like the list goes like on and on and on. And like creating a system like that, I think it's an abundant mindset. It's like, hey, there's enough to go around. Like we can give a piece of the pie to everyone and like it's gonna be okay. I think that also is like I'm gonna let other people drive the growth of this thing. Right. And so we've learned to do that even in our business where we have certain departments and we're kind of like looking at like how could we do this with every department? But we have certain departments where like we have built it like a business within the business. And those are honestly the best departments because I don't have to touch them like at all. Because the person who's over that department, like you guys know Jeff would be an example. I came to Jeff, I was like, I want to build this other side of the business. I want you to be the owner of it. I want you to run it like a business. So like this is the price of our product. I'm holding up my hands for anyone just listening to audio. And I'm going to give you this chunk of that sale, right? So just like imagine I'm going to give Jeff a big chunk of that sale. And out of that chunk, I want you to build your team, right? So at the beginning, this is a sales team that Jeff was building. It was him and me. And so I would take my cut of my closer commission for making the sale, and then he would get the rest, right? And the idea is as he grows that team, he is basically building the team out of his budget, which is that chunk of the sale. I know I'm protecting my margin on fulfillment of the product, but he is able to build a team, hire, fire, reward, pay people whatever he wants, like change commissions. He has total autonomy. And so literally it's like the easiest like management thing because he just is an owner of that thing. And so he built it like a business. He watches his numbers and he knows like, yeah, I can hire more people here to free up more of my time. It means I get paid less, but that's okay because it helps us scale. And then I get paid more. So he's just making the same kind of decisions we would make as an owner within his department. And so we're looking at like, how can we do that more with not every department's revenue driving, but like, how can we make in this next season more of like owners of departments where like they're just fully fairly autonomous, right? They're still updating us with things. They're still asking for input, but it's less like coming for approval. It's like, hey, I did this thing, I did this thing, I did this thing. You know, I'd love your feedback.
And I love that a lot of people that are from your community that are in these kind of positions, the way that you kind of structure things because it's having to grow fast and everything, pulling from your community, escalating people up. So they're people that really do understand your business kind of from the ground up. And so I think that it's a unique opportunity where they're going to understand your goals like more than, just someone that you just hire, off whatever.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. We do source a lot from internal. I would say we learned some lessons on that as well. I heard Layla Hermosi on her podcast being like, stop hiring your people. Because like so the benefit is culture, right? Like when they come from your community or your program, you don't train culture, right? They carry the culture because they've been like mentored by you. You've changed their life, right? The downside is it's hard for them to challenge you, right? Like when it took us a long time to get like our leadership team to like push back on us because we changed their life. They come through our program, like we were their mentor, but we want a leadership team of people that can like actually like, let's wrestle over some stuff. And we all kind of have the same, I don't know, clanging gong. And we all kind of have the same, like, so we have like this kind of like, Layla would call it a cesspool of just the same ideas, right? And so we've had a lot of benefit in this last season actually hiring externally and hiring people with total other industry experience and bringing those into our higher level leadership positions. Because it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know we could do it that way, So I think that served us really well up to a point. But I think the mistake I made would be I got the mission confused with the business. And our mission is to help moms. And at the time, it was more stay-at-home moms. Now it's more like working moms, but like still moms like don't have that much time on their hands. And so I would hire like 7 or 8 part-time people for one full-time role. And you guys know that. Like when he came in, there's probably like 125 people in Slack. It creates so much more chatter and complexity and all this stuff. And so I was confusing the mission, which is what we're doing with Rainmakers, with the business of like, this is what we need done to make the mission happen. And I had to start separating those things. So now we hire mostly full-time people who can just commit fully to that time because it's more efficient, and that helps us achieve the mission better in the long run. So I had to separate those, but that was a hard lesson to learn for sure.
I feel like that's a really good message on growth too, though, right? Because when you're first starting out, like you are just going to hire some part-time people to fill in gaps and stuff. And then as you grow really fast, it's just like, oh, we have some more things to get done. And it's another part-time person, another part-time person, another part-time person, until you realize that you are big enough that these 6 roles can actually be like one person that can hold everything. So I feel like that's just kind of like a good gauge of how fast you guys have grown too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and you also hit on the importance of, as you're growing, you no longer want just leaders. You have department leaders, you have leaders you're raising, but you've kind of shifted to now you want owners. You need people owning their space, owning their department, owning the decisions to free you guys up even more to own what you're best at. And so that's that nice transition between, all right, now we're done with leaders. Now we need owners. And you got to give them new tools to succeed as owners now too.
Yeah, totally.
I love it, Stephen. I feel like we could talk to you for days, bro. We could go on this podcast forever, but if people are wanting to hear more about the Rainmaker family, if they want like just to dig a little bit deeper into you, hear a little bit more from you, where can they find you? How can they be interested in some of the stuff you're doing?
Yeah, I would say on the Rainmaker family side of things, like what we're doing to help families launch brands, go to rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. That you can check out like our mastermind program that'll help you do that. If you're more interested in like the ops side of things, I have been publishing a lot on my personal Instagram. So it's not easy to say, but it's at Steve Diaz. So SteezDiaz. So I've been posting a lot more content for that 7-figure entrepreneur who wants to go to 8 figures, and just kind of sharing more of those walls that I had to overcome and the transformation I had to go through to be able to have the capacity to do that. So that's on my personal Instagram. So check it out.
Awesome. Stephen, thank you so much today for being with us, brother. I think so grateful for you as a client, so grateful for you as a friend, but really appreciate you coming to spend some time with us today. So thank you for that.
Love it, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, all of our listeners, thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you guys next week. Terryn, Savannah, always a pleasure. And we'll see you guys around next time here on Ops Experts Club. Hey, Experts listeners, I want to key you into something that we do very special here at Ops Experts Club, and that's a masterclass. We have a free masterclass called Foundations That Scale. And the great thing about this masterclass is it's for operation professionals who are growing businesses. One of the most dangerous things you can do as an operator is grow businesses on a foundations that's not stable. So in this particular masterclass, we take apart all of the inside pieces of your team, your tech, and how they're using time. And we make sure that you're building on a foundation that's stable. So if you want to check out a great masterclass completely for free, go to foundationsthatscale.com. We'll see you there.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ops Experts Club podcast. New episodes available every week on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you're curious about how some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship have scaled their businesses to the next level, check out some of our best content on this topic by going to foundationsthatscale.com. You can find the link in our bio and do your part to improve as an ops expert.